you guys all have really interesting insights. You've been sharing some of it with us tonight. What's an insight that you have about running web development teams that most people don't really see? Or another way to phrase this is, what's an insight that you feel that you're doing in your job of managing dev teams that one of the other panelists is not doing, and why they're wrong about it?
Matt's not testing.
What's that?
Matt's not testing. Right? I mean, you admitted it a few minutes ago.
Not doing test-driven development.
You're not doing test-driven development, sorry.
So we're not writing tests before we write the production code specifically. Right. So I wouldn't say we're not doing it. There is a movement within our team to do more of it, to do more unit testing.
I know somebody that can help you with that.
It's challenging to...
He's a consultant, so you can hire.
It's good, right? This is a debate, I guess. So there's no one that's like fundamentally opposed to it. It's the challenges of a rapidly growing team and a rapidly growing business, and the individuals in the team self-organizing and deciding what do they want to do. So there's no top-down decisions in our UI engineering organization or any of them that says, this is what we're going to do, everybody do it. We want the group of people who are immersed in that to decide what are the right things that are going to make them operate more effectively and more efficiently.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, top-down doesn't work, right? I think that's... Before I worked at Pivotal Labs, I worked as a manager, going back to what you and I talked about earlier, where I tried to do Agile top-down and test TDD top-down. It just doesn't work, right? It has to come bottom-up. And we built our practice around empowering engineers and showing them that you can work fast and you can iterate quickly and you can go prototype to shipping very quickly with that. And I think that... of all the things I've enjoyed in this job in the 5 years I've been doing it is watching testing first and now TDD sort of coming behind. It's something more people are doing, but I think that it's something that it's a practice that at all levels, if you're writing software, if you're test driving, you're net going to be happier later on.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm just going to attack Matt one more time. So I just want to say first off that I'm a customer of Netflix, and Amazon and Hulu have not taken me away yet. So, and so I don't mean to attack you again so drastically, but what I heard from a little bird out there that used to work at Netflix is that you actually do testing, you just do it on your users. So you roll out things and look at metric. Can you tell me about that?
There are a lot of different types of testing, so it's a bit of an overloaded word, right? Are we talking about absolutely. QA testing, usability testing? Test-driven development is a very specific phase in doing early testing for development.
Sure.
So, and then we do, from a product evolution standpoint, it's deep in our DNA to do A/B testing. So what I was talking about earlier, fundamentally, we build things because someone has a hypothesis that's going to move the needle of our business forward. And then we figure out how to build that.
Right.
And then our design teams and our front-end engineering teams put that together, and we may build 6 or 7 different flavors of that. And we put it out to groups of 50,000 or so customers without them knowing it. And all of you, if you're customers, are probably in different tests right now.
Wow.
And we look at the data. So we're a very data-driven company in that regard.
Cool. Yeah.
And so the loudest voice in the room isn't making product decisions. The highest paid person in the room isn't making product decisions. Ideally, the data behind how our customers are using the product from their usage is telling us.
Yeah.
And this is not like other companies aren't doing this.
No.
But we do a lot of it, probably maybe more than the average company.
So you're always making decisions based off of what will work. Right off the bat.
If it's testable, if we can test our way into a decision, then we do it. And we've got a pretty good infrastructure and culture, so we can do that relatively quickly. So
does that mean that you can create a new group of some users that meet a certain metric and then deliver the UI to them? Have you ever thought about segregating UI decisions based off of the user metric? Like, older
giving
people.
The user a decision to choose what experience UI they want?
You decide for them based on who you think they are, what kind of interface they might want. Have you ever thought about doing that?
We have talked about that. I think the maintenance associated with supporting multiple versions, and then you start to build sort of, I don't know.
It's the AI problem, right?
Yeah. What we want to ideally build is the best experience for the majority of our customers, and keep evolving with that one.
All right. Julia, you had something I cut you off. Do you still remember that thought?
I think we do something very similar to Netflix, and for companies with very large audiences, we're staging everything.
Yeah.
So we're dog fooding and staging everything. Things are burning for half a day, up to a week. And there are hundreds or thousands of versions of the tests that we're running that go through QA, where we learn about the audience and what they really want and how they use the product.
Wow.
So.
Isn't that creepy, everyone? I mean, the general idea, of course,
Why is that creepy?
There's something creepy about it. Who here thinks it's a little creepy? No?
I wish Microsoft Word would do that. Give
And
me
I'll
the
tell you what's
UI that I
fascinating
want.
about it is we do usability and early qualitative research, and when you ask customers what they want, it's very different than what their
yeah.
behavior actually shows from their usage.
Yeah.
So it's really a very effective way to make your product better, we think. At least.
Yeah, no, I agree. It sounds like a perfect way to make the product better. There's just something a little bit, you don't know this, everyone, but you're actually a guinea pig all the time. And there's just that's an inherent philosophy of your companies to say your users are actually, in your case, your customers, in your case, your users, are actually a test bed for you to make your product better. It's just interesting. And then, of course, the metric, it's not about how a person feels or anything. It's about if they're watching enough video or if they're talking about their cats enough, right? So it's like it's not that that's necessarily the best thing in the world to occur. It just means more revenue for you, and that's why it's kind of...
It means a better interface for people, because if someone uses something more, they must like it more.
That sounds like a Facebook choice to me, and it sounds like a philosophy you have. It's an interesting insight. I don't know if I agree with you, but...
I would also say the assumption that it's more revenue is probably a little off.
Yeah, that's an
because
assumption.
Test metrics are all over the place. We use NPS
Yeah.
as well as financial metrics to determine what's the right thing to do when we do testing. And we do plenty.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. We're running tests constantly.
All right, so did you have a question? I have other questions from audience. So let me see if I can... I didn't bring my notepad out there. Okay. Do any of you have product managers, product owners that aren't highly technical?
What does highly mean?
They know what the engineer means when the engineer responds to them. Is that where do you decide that line needs to be? Anybody?
I would say the majority of our product managers are not technical. So, they don't really care how it works, and nor should they, because their focus should be about understanding the customer experience and looking at metrics and data and figuring out what's going to make the business move, not necessarily about how it works. But they can engage in a conversation at a certain technical level and understand, I understand these limitations, or here's some of the trade-offs. So, but are they getting in and looking at code, or would understand it if shown it? No.
Okay, so let me give you the context. Like, an engineer came up to me out there and said, I've got a project manager, more traditional business, an old school database company. With an O in the front. And the thought was, there are product managers around me that don't know what the heck they're doing, and they're the ones guiding what the product is, and it's ridiculous. And I've been in that space as an engineer, having a product manager not really knowing what the heck's going on. Anybody want to respond to that? Sorry.
Well, I can say we run the gamut. We've got very technical to not technical at all, and every individual you have to treat differently. I would say, from my perspective, trying to help drive the overall process, we use much more documentation on our product managers who don't have the technical or the UI chops or the understanding. So we really rely heavily on documentation in those cases. In other cases, we don't. If we're familiar with the product manager, if we can work well with them, if they understand us and they understand the development cycle.
Okay. So there's another question that came to me about what, over the years, the definition of what a web developer has changed in a lot of sense. Everybody has a different idea of what that is, right? You used to know HTML, you were a web developer. You could open Dreamweaver, At this point, it's all defined by everyone. But what are you looking for in a new hire from a technical perspective? If right now you could talk to a sophomore high school student and you said to her, I think you should do these tech or learn these skills, and right before you go to college, I'll hire you. What would you suggest that she does?
You said her,
Or
so I
him,
would say
whatever.
don't give up.
Oh yeah. Don't listen to our community.
Yeah,
it's
don't
not as
listen to the
bad
rest
as you
of them,
think.
yeah.
I hope. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I tell my daughter. So yeah.
Yes. So what would you suggest for the path of someone at that level?
So we've touched on it, I think, on a couple of different questions around tonight. But it turns out engineers are people, right? Everybody's still a person, right? What I found, the thing that we always say that we're hiring for and that we're screening for is actually empathy. Because we have technical tests that we put people through. We have a very rigorous interview process. If we see technical chops without empathy, which means you're not going to be able to communicate with your peers, with your clients, then you're probably not going to be a fit for us. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to be successful somewhere else.
Okay.
But we found that when we screen for empathy and being able to communicate in those high communication skills, we have to get people that can coach better, and at the end of the day can talk to the product manager no matter what their background is, and get more, as we always say, shipping more code, right? And that's what it is for us.
Okay. Anybody else on what you're looking for an engineer?
So for me, if it's a college grad, I would say somebody who is basic programming skills, right? You should be a good programmer to be a great web developer. Somebody who is a good JavaScripter. That's foundation. I feel if you know how to program, you can, and you have an eye for experience. Right? It's not just the engineering mindset, it's the experience eye with a great programming skill makes a wonderful UI developer.
Anybody else?
What I look for is someone with a rock solid technical background, computer science learnings, because generally when they come in or what they've learned in the past, they may not apply those same skills, but they need to learn to apply them to a very different technology stack or problem space.
Okay, Matt?
I would say similar to Manju. Good solid fundamentals. Obviously, they need to pass the technical bar that we've established through our interview process, but that alone isn't going to make someone successful in our company. It really it's critical that they really care deeply about the product and can articulate and communicate nuances about user experience and think like a customer and be able to have those debates and with product managers and other engineering teams and things like that. That's a real key part of, I think, getting to the end result that everybody's after.
It's not just
about the ability to maybe write very elegant, polished, lean code.
Yeah. So in a traditional software environment, you might have a large group gets a bonus because they finish the metric on time, and then the newest recruits in there that are working on some grunt work don't see that at all. Are you familiar with that idea? You've seen that before? Do you see it now?
Nope.
I can speak for how we think about compensation, which is we try to practice market-based compensation and really have a pulse on what is the market paying for this particular skill set in this area, and pay it, ideally the very top of that to attract the best talent. We don't believe in bonuses or other things that sort of make up a compensation plan. So we assume we want to hire people who would get the full bonus, and only hire people like that and just bake that into their salary and let them choose to do with it what they wish. And the same goes for how we think about our stock option plan, which is you can invest any amount of your salary into discounted options. So really empowering the employee to make a lot of decisions for themselves instead of trying to put together a package of compensation that can be deceptively more attractive than another one.
I was going to ask more about not starting package, but let's say somebody's been working there, and how the market is right here in the Bay Area, all these companies are fighting. Do your companies try to keep up with that? Because it's just going up and up.
How do you hold on to people? Is that, yeah.
I read it somewhere, I think. Money is never a motivation factor. But
What's that? Money is not a
money
motivation?
is not a motivation factor, but lack of money is, right?
Yes.
So what it means is that if you are not keeping up with the market and adjusting, if you are seeing that, we had situations where market had a different rate altogether, so people were leaving left, right, and center. So adjustments like that to our top talent, we do constantly. Because it is about keeping our talent.
Right.
So adjust based on market, because as I said, money is never a motivator, but lack of money is. So
And it's always cheaper to hold on to someone than to try to hire somebody. Right?
hold on to somebody, some of your top talent, right? There is a huge difference. Sometimes some of them you don't want to hold on to.
I would jump on that and say that, although I'm not hiring developers strictly, I definitely pass the resumes that have lots of entries on them. So the job jumpers, I'm not interested in. I'm interested in growing people's careers. I'm interested in people working as a team with my team. As far as compensation goes, exactly to that point, lack of compensation can be a motivation. I think eBay and PayPal probably try to stay as competitive as possible, like most companies in the area.
I've got to say, I've had over the years, I've had a lot of thoughts on the Pivotal Labs I've always just kind of loved, but the rest of the companies have a lot of thoughts, and I talk a lot about the companies on the show when the companies make decisions that I don't like, my radio show, which is geekspeak.org, by the way. It's my volunteer gig I've done for 12 years. Check it out. Hundreds of hours of me yakking with people about technology, and in that time, I've had a lot. I don't know if we've had an episode for the last year and a half that didn't have Facebook in it. We just joke now. Oh, it's the Facebook segment, and we talk about Facebook, mostly negatively.
I kind of could tell.
But I got to say, it's really enlightening to see all of you, and I respect how you guys think about what you do and what you're doing at the company. You've changed my perspective a lot on what it would be like to work for one of these companies, and I'm impressed with all of you, and it's been a pleasure to meet with you and chat with you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.